Alright, let's talk about Pandorum. Pandorum is a film that my buddy introduced to me actually, along with Event Horizon, which they didn't come out around, like anywhere close to each other because Event Horizon is from the 90s and this is a 2009 film. And when I watched Event Horizon, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, I really did not like it. I've only watched it once though, and it was way back when. So that one definitely needs a rewatch from me before I can actually say how I feel about it. But this one, when I watched it, I liked it better. I didn't love it, but I definitely watched this one multiple times, and it's lingered in my mind a lot more since the first time I watched it. So like the second and third viewing, I started to like it a lot. And I recently found it for $3. Beat goes on, people. Beat goes on. If you live in Southern Ontario, you know what beat goes on in. But otherwise, you probably don't know where that is. But it's a cool video store. Regardless, shameless plug. Um, yeah. I found this for $3, and I love finding cheap films on Blu-ray or DVD. And I really love this film. This is a sci-fi horror. Obviously, not as good as Alien. I mean, come on, you can't even compare. But in the realm of sci-fi horror, this is a really, really well done film. It's a lot of fun. Excuse me. It's a lot of fun. It stars Dennis Quaid and Ben Foster. Kind of a different role for Dennis Quaid because he's usually doing more like down to earth, like family-ish roles, or just like kind of blue collar roles. So this one's a little different for him, but he's really good at it. And yeah, it's basically, I'll get right into the plot, but this is going to be, I'm going to start out without spoilers. I'm going to start by kind of explaining the vibe of the film, and then I'm going to try to give the best spoiler-free description of it as I can, and then I'm going to jump straight into spoilers. So, a lot of the vibes that I get from this film, it was produced by Paul W.S. Anderson, and it definitely feels like that. It's a dark, grimy film, and it really kind of feels like Resident Evil-esque by like Paul W.S. Anderson with the Alice, well, six of them, you can't really call it a trilogy, but it's got that flair to it. It's got that high action, high octane sci-fi element, but with some horror to it. This has way more horror than Resident Evil, though. I'm just saying the all-around vibe to it. There's a character in it that actually really reminds me of Alice from the Resident Evil films. And you can even say that, like, if they were planning to make a Resident Evil film in space for whatever reason, because hey, what would stop them with the way the series has went, with how the series has went, who would stop them from taking Resident Evil to space? But if they threw like a lot more, if they threw Alice in there and they threw like some umbrella plots and stuff like that, and you could you could you could probably see like this could make a Resident Evil film if it was called Resident Evil and had Alice thrown into it and had some umbrella elements thrown into it because of the style of it. But it's obviously not, and the script has nothing to do with it. But you could just tell that it has that Paul W.S. Anderson fingerprint on it. Like I said, it's a very dark, grimy, dirty, greasy film. It's very greasy because I don't know, like by greasy I mean like machine grease. It has this like dirty vibe to it. The ship, well, I gotta get into the plot, but I'm just talking about the overall vibe of the film right now. But yeah, I guess I could just jump right into the plot of it. So this is spoiler free. Basically, it takes place on a ship, and these people start waking up from being like cryogenic sleep or whatever you call it, hyperactive sleep, because they're on this long mission to repopulate another planet because Earth is basically dying off. And these people start waking up. You got Dennis Quaid, who plays Captain Peyton, and Ben Foster plays this guy named Bauer. And Bauer wakes up, finds Peyton still asleep, the captain, and he eventually wakes up afterwards too, and then it's just the two of them, and the ship is completely, it seems abandoned, basically. And then they try to like reprogram the core of it, like the main control system, and they end up doing so, and then Peyton, Dennis Quaid's character, kind of starts to try and research what happened, and Bauer basically goes off to explore the ship, and they come across this ship is like filled with these mutant monsters, and they're trying to figure out where they came from. Other characters start to be introduced. You start to notice that basically the ship is waking up these people randomly, and it's kind of like it obviously has malfunctioned, and they're trying to figure out for how long, and they're trying to figure out basically what happened to the ship, and then there's a huge amount of twists, and they eventually figure out where these monsters came from, and things start to slowly reveal themselves, and things that you thought were something end up not being that, and it just escalates from there. It's really action packed, but it's also really creepy and really dark. And dark in mood, and dark in visuals, but also dark in like plot and really messed up shit that goes on. So it's a recommendation from me. If you like sci-fi horror, if you're into that, then it's a lot of fun. It's a fun film that has a lot of like strong action scenes with a lot of horror elements thrown in, and a lot of twists, and it's a film that gets you thinking. It's not kind of just a mind numb kind of film. It's not something it's just random fighting and shit like that. It's got a lot of story, and it's very dense, and it goes in depth with the story that it tells. So I like it a lot. It's very creepy. So now jumping into complete spoilers, I'm starting from the beginning again. When Bauer wakes up and Peyton wakes up, it's extremely creepy. This ship is called the Elysium, and they're on their way to Tanis because, like I said, the Earth is basically done for, and they're trying to figure out what happens. When Bauer is exploring the ship, there's these scenes that are really claustrophobic, and it's the scenes with like the wires and the tubes. They kind of show a description on the cover, but it's a lot more than that, because this guy's trying to crawl through these like crawl spaces, like vents, and they're all filled with these tubes, and eventually like he'll kind of get tangled in them and not even be able to move. And being a claustrophobic person, I'm just watching it, I'm feeling it. This film really gets under your skin, and it's a moody film. That's the only way I can describe it. Like it makes your skin crawl, and it does a really good job doing so. I like when both of them wake up. I like the little detail that they put, where when you're cryogenically frozen or asleep, your skin cells don't stop growing because they weren't able to find a way to do that. So when you wake up, you have these massive layers of dead skin, and they're peeling them off, and it's just so disgusting. But being a guy that actually likes to peel dead skin, it's also it's not that gross. It's like, ooh, but just how much dead skin is on these people, it's like, wow, that does not look fun, and it looks actually kind of painful. But it was it was a funny little or a neat little touch that the director put in there. Directed by Christian Alvart. Christian Alvart is the director of this film. The monsters in it really, like the monsters themselves, a lot of them really reminded me, if anybody has ever played the video game Resistance Fall of Man for the PlayStation 3, pure nostalgia on that one, the monsters really remind me of that, because a lot of them have these spikes coming out of their backs, and they really look like the Chimera in that video game. The Chimera that like is the main enemy in Resistance Fall of Man. So I noticed them, and I'm like, that's the first thought I had, is that they look like Chimera from Resistance. It was really cool. The reveal of another ship, Eden, where obviously the captain went crazy from Pandorum. or the technical term orbital dysfunctional syndrome, ODS, which basically makes you go crazy from paranoia, developed from being, in deep space, surrounded by oblivion, and how it can, psychologically have a huge effect on you with paranoia and hallucinations and, losing your mind. And the explanation of what the captain of that Eden ship did, where he lost his mind and wanted to shoot all the people out into, you know, space, like while they're awake too, and then you see everybody floating like away, which right there actually, floating in these tubes just towards nowhere, where they're basically just inside there gonna starve to death while they shoot through outer space towards nothing, is terrifying. Again, the claustrophobia, like sitting in a tube awake, shooting through outer space, and the only thing that you can do is starve to death because you don't even have any means of killing yourself, really. It's just fucked up. That scene really got to me. I can't even imagine. That just sounds like one of the most terrifying things. This film, like I said, it does a really good job at getting under your skin, and it's very detailed, and it's got the best atmosphere for what kind of film it is, a science fiction horror. The characters are cool. I like Kung Lee's character. He plays the Vietnamese guy who doesn't speak any English. He's speaking Vietnamese throughout the whole film, and he's like a martial arts guy too. So he does some really good like stunts and all that. The girl, like I said, she's very tough. You can tell that all the people who have awoken in this ship have really started to fend for themselves, and like there's no teamwork going on. And as the film progresses, I like how you find out that some of the people in this ship have been awake for 6 months, some have been awake for 2 years, a lot of people have been awake for, a longer time than you would think. And you're always wondering like where this ship is and if it's reached the planet or not. And as for the creatures, the explanation where it was like the crew that mutated and became this new species, it's kind of weird. Obviously, the ending explains it, where they're actually on the planet and they're under the ocean and they've been there for like 900 and some years. So that definitely explains enough time to believe that this crew of people could have actually like mutated that much, especially contained in this tiny, well, not tiny because the ship is massive, but this environment that they feel trapped in, and they feel that they're going to, they're inevitable in. But it's pretty disgusting. Like, just because these monsters, like they're always like on top of each other. Like even at the end, closer to the end of the film, where they're about to restart the generator, the mother core of the ship, and all the monsters are just laying on top of each other down in the like underneath, and like were they just fucking each other for 900 years? Like, oh, it's just this film asks a lot of questions that you don't always want to know the answers to. It's kind of funny that way. I really did like the ending, and I really the ending, not the end. I love the ending, but I'm talking about where Dennis Quaid finally starts remembering everything, because obviously these characters, they have this sort of amnesia where they remember a lot of details but forget other details. And I loved also Peyton, Dennis Quaid's character, his where Gallo comes in, where he meets Gallo, and this is another thing with the film too. I like how the characters, excuse me, itchy nose. I love how the characters they throughout the film they're always switching personality. there'll be one way, like Gallo, for example. He's this like scared, he's terrified, he's naked, and he's like shaking and like terrified of the monsters. And then 5 minutes later, he's dressed and he looks like this creepy, like kind of Channing Tatum clone, but evil. And he's just so shoulders up and confident, and he's like, you could tell he's evil. And later on, it's explained obviously that it's Peyton's personality the whole time, with the reveal that Peyton was actually on the ship for so long. I don't know if I buy. See, with Peyton, the question that left me hanging at the end is, okay, he was young on the ship and then he lost his mind. He was the captain of the ship, and when he was younger, and he lost his mind. And I'm just wondering, because obviously he put himself back into hypersleep. Like he put it because he woke up at the beginning of the film. So obviously at some point he grew up on the ship for like 30 years or whatever, got a little bit older, and then he must have put himself back in the ship. Now, I'm wondering if he did that while still floating through space, or did he already crash into the planet and sink into the ocean and then put himself into hypersleep? Because that's a little bit of a plot hole that I'm wondering. He obviously wanted to play God and create this new wave of beings in this contained ship, because he started to think the ship was Nirvana or something. I don't fucking know. But I'm just wondering if he did that, like if he went to hypersleep before the ship crashed or once the ship crashed. I think it was before, because that would make the most sense, because I think when he starts to remember shit at the end of the film is when he realizes, like, because he opens up the windows and he can tell that there's no stars, and that's when you get the whole reveal that they're actually not in space anymore, that they're actually under an ocean on Tanis. But I think it would make the most sense that he put himself in hypersleep before the ship crash, and then once he woke up and got his memory back, then he realized, oh shit, we're not in space anymore. But it could have been either or, like the 900 years prior or whatnot. That's just the one question that I had at the end of the film. But obviously this film is the type that merits rewatches. So, and it's got a lot of rewatch value just for entertainment alone, because the fight sequences and the action, and it's got a lot of gore too. It's just a lot of fun. So it's got a lot to offer, that's for sure. But and I like the reveals, like I said. Leland is a kind of an annoying character, but he's the guy that's like the conspiracy guy, and he's kind of the one that started the cannibalism stuff on the ship. He plays his character well. See, he's another one too that changes personalities, because he's trying to like teach them what's going on, and he's like friendly to them, but then he decides he wants to eat them, and he hangs them upside down, and he's like wanting to carve steaks out of them. And Bauer so easily convinces this clear psychopath to let him go. He's just like he says the most basic thing, and then he's like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I guess I should let you go. And he cuts them down. It's like, wow, I thought they were going to have to put a bigger fight than that. And then he just becomes friendly again. So I don't know, I found that interesting, but Leland was definitely an interesting character, for sure. And then the ending, I love the payoff with it. I really like the twist that you figure out that they're actually on Tanis the whole time, and they've been for so long, like almost 1,000 years. And I love how the they eject all the sleeping passengers out through the top of the ocean, and then they finally are able to start a new a new existence on this new planet. It is too bad that they figured out that they completely lost Earth, however many years ago. But that's that's another thing. I think well, they explain that that's the biggest reason why Peyton went crazy on the ship, but it still doesn't explain whether he figured that out. See, I think the ship was still flying through space when he figured that out, and then he's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna create a new existence right on this ship. Because that's the big thing. If they crashed on the planet, why wouldn't he just launch everybody up and start the new race on the planet? It's a much better idea than doing it on the ship, unless he just totally turned into a loon. But it would make more sense where he's floating through space, he has no idea where they're going to go. Everybody, there's no more destination, so he wants to create this. But you never know. Like, the point of the film is that he went insane, and that he started to look at the ship as like a seed towards a really fucked up existence. But like I said, I really liked the questions and the plot points that the film took you in, and the journey that the film took you in. And it's a lot of fun. Like, it's entertaining as well. It's a lot of fun just with the action. But it's not just your standard action movie. It also has a lot to say, and a lot of direction. It gives you a great story along with your mindless monster action. So Pandorum is a recommendation for me. I would have to give Event Horizon another watch to compare the two, but so far this one smokes Event Horizon from what I remember. I really was entertained by this one, so it is a recommendation for me. And that's pretty much all I got to say about it. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews, and I will be back for some more real soon, so stay tuned, subscribe, like I said, and I will chat later. Have a good night. Peace.